All right, guys. So our next main topic here is going to bring us to an interesting article that came out. This is from CBR, but it's in reference to HBO's subscriber count. Seems to have, at least according to a report that they're quoting from Variety, it seems that they have lost roughly HBO themselves has lost roughly 50%, 51% of their subscribers since the end of Game of Thrones, which this isn't like world-shattering news or anything, and we've talked about for like months now how HBO has kind of like squandered the whole HBO Max launch and how there's playing catch up with Disney as far as subscriber numbers go. And we're going to get into another article here that really breaks this down, all the streaming services subscriber numbers throughout this year. We're going to get into that in a minute, but this is just kind of dropped and just is kind of, I don't know, like it's not like earth-shattering information, but it's definitely like interesting.
Yeah.
Like the fact that 51% of a subscriber base is a lot of people, and like it doesn't say, it doesn't say what. Wait. Is this saying 12 million viewers? But okay, so yeah, the show drew in an increasingly large audience and broke numerous records, culminating in an average of about 12 million viewers by season 8. So you're looking at like 6.1 million people not subscribed at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious what these numbers are kind of.
Yeah, I
I'm not
can't
sure.
speak to the numbers too much.
Because here's the thing, like the 12 million, I thought I had read at one point that there were 12 million people watching Game of Thrones, like when it premiered, like the night it premiered on HBO. That doesn't take into account anybody that was watching on one of the streaming platforms or watching online or later viewers too. So this number, the loss of viewers may even be higher than the 6 million that's kind of implied to by this article.
Oh yeah, and I mean, regardless of that, because the numbers are going to be, for one, it'll be hard for unless HBO Max is just gonna, or not HBO Max, but HBO and Warner Brothers just gonna release their losses. Like, I mean, I guess they would have to because it's if they're publicly traded. But either way, that's not information that they normally just hand out to people. So the numbers are gonna be kind of like hard. You just kind of got to go off whatever anybody's going to give you. And so I guess all that they even had to go off of was, well, we had 12 million people watching it and they've lost 50. I don't know where they're coming up with the numbers, but still, when you look at the article, I mean, the article we're going to get into here in a little bit with their like overall numbers, that's a lot of people that they really shouldn't be, like, they can't really afford to lose because they barely have, like, they barely got that much in October when HBO Max released, if I'm remembering that much. For them to have 12 million people watching for one show, and then them to go on and launch a new streaming service with all this new content and stuff, and then they were only able to rack in the viewership that they were getting for one show before. It's a pretty bad number. And I'm telling you, man, we'll get into it here in a little bit with once we get to the streaming article, but their biggest problem with this was just the damn marketing for it, dude. Like, nobody knows what HBO Max is, man. Like,
really.
But we'll get into that here in a little bit because that is literally one of the topics here we're going to get into. But what do you guys think about them losing roughly 51% after Game of Thrones? Do you think that's like bad, or do you think it's just a result of like literally just because like they didn't like Game of Thrones and they like?
That's what I think it is. It's saying that up top. The conclusion of Game of Thrones resulted in HBO losing more than half of its adult audience, and I think a lot of people were really upset with the conclusion of Game of Thrones. But I don't know if that's enough to make you be like, screw HBO Max,
No, because I think it's more or less like once HBO or once Game of Thrones ended, they didn't have a reason to keep HBO.
Yeah. That's like the only reason they used it.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, I hate to say this because like first world problems, but I think a lot of people that subscribe to cable services or streaming services tend to have some extra disposable income. They're not like razor thin budgets to the point where if they keep or cut their that service each month, it's going to be the difference between them making their mortgage or not. So I feel like that's what, and I feel like that's kind of what streaming services are banking on, is the fact that once they get people pulled in, they'll continue to hold them just because it's kind of a hassle to cancel it. It's kind of whatever. And so I think the idea that HBO lost half of their subscribers based on the conclusion it does say something about the fact that it was a popular show, and once it was over, people didn't have a reason to. But I also do think it kind of indicts the ending of the show a little bit. It is kind of an indictment that half of the people were like, okay, I I don't see any value in this service. I didn't like the ending to this show. I'm not even going to give you the benefit of the doubt and try your other shows because of how poorly you ended this particular show that I had so much invested in. That they went through that trouble to actively cancel. I mean, half of their subscribers actively canceled based off of that. Um, which that kind of dovetails into my second point, which is, and I harp on it a lot, and maybe it's because of how still raw and emotional I feel about it. But the ending to that show was so mismanaged and so mishandled, that look at you're still feeling the fallout from it when you look at like HBO Max now. Can you imagine how much better position HBO Max would have been if they had figured out a way to get them to expand the ending of Game of Thrones and not rush it into two truncated final seasons? If they had let that show have the room to breathe, actually do what they were doing at the beginning, which is give each book its own season to play everything out in. If they hadn't rushed it and they gave it, 3 or 4 more seasons, heck, they could have launched HBO Max with either the final or the second to last season of Game of Thrones exclusive to HBO Max. And can you imagine what that would have done just hype wise and awareness wise for that platform? It's just everything
That would have
about the
been
way they
genius.
handled. Yeah, the way they handled everything about the ending to that series just. And yet again, we're talking about Warner Brothers and then mishandling
Yeah.
something. It's mind-boggling that they're still, I say all this as a layman that has no idea what goes into this, and I apologize to all those people that work there, and I'm sure they're doing their hardest every day, and they're doing what they think is best. But at some point, somewhere in the rung of responsibility, the ladder of responsibility, somebody has to look at this and just go, our past decade has not been good. It just hasn't.
There's been a lot of hits, but then the misses have been really bad misses is the problem.
Catastrophic almost. Yeah.
Like it's amazing. Like they're if I'd say honestly, if any other smaller like company had like the problems that they're having as far as division amongst fans and just consumers, and then even with like the latest announcement that they had where their 2021 slate where they're not even like consulting with their talent, their artists working for them, not letting the directors even know and having discussions that to even like so little as inform them, let alone negotiate like contract stuff with them and for like back end points and stuff, like let alone just they didn't even tell people that they were going to forego like movie theaters for all the movies that they've made next year. They're just going to put them straight on the streaming service. Like it's baffling that like if it was a smaller company, like they'd be done by now. Like if they didn't already have Warner Brothers money and AT&T money, and HBO wasn't already a successful platform for them, like this would be a Quibi situation. Like
Yeah.
in all honesty, like it has been this. It's
Great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
that's good.
it's just it's mind-boggling. It goes back to what I was saying before, where it's like you got the best superheroes in the world and you're just squandering it all. Like just
Yeah.
making mediocre films, some good, some bad, making the weirdest choices, like no Superman 2, but you got
You
Wonder
really
Woman
stuck on
3,
that.
and it's like, dude, I'll be stuck on that
Until it's made.
Until it's made.
Well,
Like,
Marvel's blown DC out of the water,
Right.
and I think it was always the opposite with the comics. DC was always like the bigger
oh yeah.
animal, and it's weird to me that Marvel's been so successful and DC just hasn't been able to reach that sort of height, I
That's
guess you
what I'm
could say.
saying. And they, like I said, they did it with the B team, the C team, even.
Yeah.
Because like Fox and Sony had control of their big guns.
They
Like-
made the B and C team into the A team with
Exactly.
the Avengers. Like,
Yeah. Which is, again, it's mind-boggling when you look at that, and then you look at Warner Brothers has all of the pantheon of DC characters, and it's like it's not doing anything with it.
yeah,
It's crazy.
I'm not going to be able to remember, but I think I read an article years ago that talked about how whoever was the president of Warner Brothers Pictures or something wanted to was really concerned that their movies that they release be considered like films with some sort of like abstract, unquantifiable element to them that made them somehow more prestigious than what Marvel was doing or something. And it sounded like just a BS, like somebody that's been in the industry too long, that has a much high opinion of themselves and of what they're doing. And like they felt like it was an art form, and their films had to be some form of art, and that Marvel's weren't for some reason, and that was why they were so hesitant to just put out stuff the way Marvel did. And it just anyway, it clearly it's not only hurt the company, it's now hurting the characters, and it's just
It's hurting the
disappointing.
brand, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, and then the choices they've been making as a company is not only just hurting their actual brands, like their properties brand. It's hurting their own brand. Like
it's ruining the
like,
reputation.
yeah, the Warner Brothers
Yeah.
reputation is like really taking a dive here. Like literally, the Screen Actors Guild of America, or no, the directors, the DGA. I think it was a DGA, but they were talking about like essentially unionizing against Warner Brothers after the announcement they made here. It's like, so like it's just a when you're making like literally all of the people, like you're a production company, you're a movie distribution and production company, and you're literally actively pissing off and honestly shitting on all of the people that you employ. And not in a sense to where like they have to deal with it because there's nothing they can do. They won't work with you. Like the actors and directors out there will just go work with Sony. They'll go work with Paramount. They'll go work with Disney. Like they need the actors and the directors and the screenwriters out there. Like no one else necessarily needs Warner Brothers to make a movie. Like there's plenty of other production companies.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
plenty of them. So like, yeah, it's just baffling to me. Like, I don't know. They need to get the act together, like we said before. But anyways, as far as the Game of Thrones information here, where the not Warner Brothers, HBO Max is, God, I'm all over the place here. As far as HBO losing 50% of their subscribers post Game of Thrones, once Game of Thrones ended. Let us know what you guys think about that down in the comment section below. Do you think it's because of, was it more the dissatisfaction with the way the series ended, or do you think it was more of the fact that the show was over and that was the main reason that anybody was actually subscribed to the platform to begin with? And then John, like he had the most genius idea. Do you think it would have been better for them to just hold off and maybe have the Game of Thrones series ready to go for the HBO Max launch, and then people would know what HBO Max is and actually care about it? You know what I mean? I don't know. Let us know what you guys think about that down in the comment section below.